Hi, third graders. So I hear that you are going on a Kittery Scavenger Hunt. And so some of your teachers asked if I could help you guys in the part where you're going to look and draw your own house in Kittery. And so I kind of thought, okay, well, that's a whole. Here's my house. Not in Kittery. I live in Wells, but it doesn't matter. All our houses are made up of shapes, right? Think about it. How many do you see right now? Yeah, like so many, right? Even the tiny little details in my windows, the window panes, I see 6 rectangles at the top of each window. And then I see a perfect square underneath, like the part where the window opens. Sometimes my kitty sleeps there, but I don't see her right now. Look at the chimney, rectangle. Look at the roof. Even look at that weird metal triangle up there. I think that's so I don't get dripped on when it rains, but I'm not sure. My door, rectangle. Roof, triangle. I might have already said that. Trying to get you guys a chance to see. Gosh, even my trees, like the shape of a cone. Oh, there's the cat. Hi, Butters. She's kind of a triangle herself. Even those steps, long, skinny rectangles, right? So, the thing is, if you go over to the side of your house, you're going to get a much more interesting way to draw it. Let's see if I can angle this right, because this is where you see angles and how it becomes more 3D. So the corner of the house there completely changes that shape into more of a cube than a flat square or a flat rectangle. And that just makes things more interesting. So I'm going to take some shapes that you've seen before. I dropped them all over the lawn. But triangle, right? And a square, okay? But if you take these and again turn them to the side, they become 3D shapes. So I know some of you can draw cubes, and I've seen all that awesome stuff. So if you just kind of stack them together, you should be able to simply draw the shapes of your house, and then you can go in and add all those amazing details that make it your house. It makes it where you live with your family. So I'm going to stop here and then go in and grab my drawing paper. Okay, be right back. Okay, I'm back inside. Now I have a pencil, and I have those shapes we talked about out in my lawn, and I've got some drawing paper here I'll show you in just a second. So hopefully you can do this drawing outside. It's supposed to be a beautiful week. So whatever your scavenger hunt is all about, it sounds like you're going to have a great week to do it, and I'm excited to hear about the results. So let's think about the shape that we talked about out on my front lawn. That my house really looked like a giant flat gray rectangle. So if I take that, let's take that giant flat rectangle, right? And I sketch a rectangle right here. Can you guys see that? Okay, good. No matter what, throughout all this remote learning stuff, you guys, teaching to a computer screen is not the same. I miss your faces. And I miss telling you, like, to stop talking when I'm talking. Anyway, nobody's talking back to me right now. It's like tricky. Okay, right. So kind of the front of my house is a tiny little rectangle. I don't have one right here, but look, it's kind of like the shape of this eraser, right? So yeah, I could do that, right? And I could add my rectangular front door, and then I could put my triangle-shaped cat in there because she's a little heavy. And then I had square windows with another square on top, which that equals a rectangle. It looks like a domino. And then we talked about 6 rectangles at the top. So putting in like those little details. I know this looks really small, but we're going to do a bigger one in a minute. But then when I walked around to the side of my house with the computer there, when I dropped all the shapes on the ground, that's when we talked about this part, like this part of the house, where all of a sudden, instead of it just being flat, it turns into that 3D shape. And that's what allows you to live inside of it. You can't live in a flat space. You'd be like Flat Stanley, you know, like we'd all be paper dolls. That would be really weird. Even though it would probably be really fun to change our clothes all the time. You could draw right on them. But anyway, so it's all about the angles. So what I want to show you in a bigger drawing in a second is how the side of my house, the corner of my house, I think there's 2 windows here and 2 windows here, how the side of my house goes back, but it has to match. So, Lincoln. So, this would be the wall that allows it, so when I go in my front door, sorry guys, again, it's like so hard to teach at home. The door, you know, you go in, now I'm in my living room, and I'm going back here into my kitchen, and I'm going over here, and there's a dining room table in there. So that's what makes your house livable. That's what makes it 3D. Does that make sense? So I think that for your drawings of your house and where you live in Kittery, no matter what shape and size it is, it doesn't matter. It's about making it 3D so that you know that we know that you actually live in there. And we're humans. We're 3D. We need 3D places to live. Okay? So, Lincoln, you're going to have to go. Okay. So, I don't think as many other things on our house have to be 3D, but I do think that this part is going to be super duper important. And then we've got to talk about, like, how do you put a roof on that? Right? Because the roof we talked about is a triangle. Mine was. I don't know, yours is, everybody's going to be a little bit different. You might have 2 triangles. But if you take this triangle, let me hold it just like this for you, right? Flat. And then if it turns to the side, like my drawing, now you've got 2 edges to draw, not just a plain flat triangle, right? So I'm going to put a triangle on my house, but then I'm going to follow the diagonal lines that I just made on the side of my house. So like when we talked about ellipses, you guys, birthday cakes, remember all that stuff before we got stuck at home? We were talking about how everything has to match, right? So if you make a floating pancake as the start of your ellipse, the start of your cake, we would drop down 2 straight lines, and it didn't matter how long these were, how short they were. What matters the most is that they match. This swoopy and this swoopy have to match in order for it to look 3D. So if you are drawing a cylinder, a can, or a giant pencil eraser, looks like a giant pink pencil eraser, the swoopy at the bottom has to match the swoopy you put at the top. So this is the opposite of swoopy because it's straight, but diagonal, diagonal. They have to be what we call parallel, but that just means like they have to just be the same. So look, they point up that way. This one points up the same way. And then all I did was match the side and the side. So that means with this roof, I'm going to do the same thing. And Lincoln. And I'm going to match that diagonal to that one. So now all of a sudden, I have a place that I can go inside, and like we talked about, now I can even go upstairs because there's space up here in my 3D triangle. Okay? Lincoln. He's looking out the rectangular window, barking at a 3-dimensional house that lives next door. Hey! All right, I'm back. Sorry. Again, I'm not going to hide it. I have a dog. It is what it is. If I shut the door, which is a giant rectangle, by the way, he will scratch at it. So, All right, let's see what we got here, friends. Let's draw your house, and we're going to make it 3D. That's the piece I'm going to add in to your scavenger hunt, draw your house in Kittery challenge. So here we go. Let's make sure that we can see. I got a pretty big piece of paper here. You don't have to do that, right? Remember we talked about you can draw on anything. So I'm going to start, because my house, the front that I showed you is a pretty big, make sure you guys can see this, really a pretty big rectangle. And I always draw big. I always go off the paper. If you do that, go for it. Leave it. It's fine. I think sometimes it makes it more interesting, actually, and there's a name for it. It's called breaking the plane. And the plane here, not like an airplane. A plane is like a flat surface. So if you break that plane and you go off the paper, that's actually could be a really good thing. As long as not too much is off the paper. We need to see your house. All right, so I got a rectangle here, right? And then you can go ahead and add some of these details if you want to. You know, I had my door that we talked about. That was my rectangle, tall, skinny rectangle. And you know, this is really 3D too. There's trim on it. And then there's door hinges and all kinds of stuff like that. And my two squares stacked on top of each other, I like looking at it that way because the squares, two squares equal a rectangle. Almost like a snowman, but with square marshmallows or something instead. And then remember I had those more rectangles in the windows. You might have something totally different. I wonder if any of you have a semicircle. That would be pretty cool. Sometimes you see those. I've always wanted one right over my house right here. Right over my door. Anyway, that's not really there, but more windows. But again, I don't want to bore you with the details of what my house looks like. I just want you guys thinking about the shapes that are in the house, on the house, above the house, right? So, do you guys remember? Here's that side of my house. And here's where everything has to match to make it look 3D. So we take the side, turn it a little bit. Oh, there it is. These lines match each other. Like they go back in space on a piece of paper. They're diagonal. So the way you show it is however far off, whatever way you make your line, the other one has to match it. So the top diagonal and the bottom diagonal have to be the same. Just like the swoopies on our ellipses. So, here we go. Put this down here. Again, you guys should be outside doing this, not from memory, like really looking, because this is when you're going to notice like your house might have a gutter on the side right here, or some other interesting facts. So, here, this diagonal, pew, has to match this diagonal, pew. And I have lots of searching lines. That's what sketching is, right? And then if you could see the other side of my house, I'm going to lightly put this in here for you guys so this makes a little bit of sense. If you could see the other wall, like this is where my driveway is, vroom, vroom, okay? Oh, you can't see that, right? So if this was this diagonal, pew, and this one, pew, and this one, you guessed it, has to be the same, pew. So now you can kind of see, and then another straight line here, just like this. Match it, match it, match it, match it. Same, 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 same. Bunch of twins going on in here. And then if you look, right, if I drew an arrow in there, you can almost picture, like that's how, that's where you live, inside, right? Make sense? Okay. So we can get fancy schmancy, but let's go ahead and just put my roof on. And my roof overlapped the front of my house a little bit. It has to. That's what protects it. No matter what size you have. And my roof was a triangle, but it had a flat. It's got a flat because it peaks. I think they call that an apex. So then, what happens next? Now what? What do you think? Twins. It's got to match. Right. So the diagonal of the roof now is the same as the diagonal on the side of the house. Now, my roof is not see-through like this one. So just like we did with our cakes, every time we drew an ellipse and then we made it match, there was a part we always had to go back and erase, which is why I say erasers are not for mistakes. They're a drawing tool that's going to help you. So I could go in, and it's not the best paper to erase with, but you'll get the idea that this becomes the side of my roof. And if you guys want to get fancy schmancy, which I really challenge you to do, I haven't seen you in so long, so like, knock it out of the park. I mean, this, if you've got shingles or siding on your house, or if it's made of wood, anything, all of those, if you want to put them in there, they would all match too. Shoo, 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 all the same, okay? In terms of the steps in front of your house, do you remember what I said they were? Right. They are all long, skinny rectangles. And again, the diagonal line that's on the side of my house that I started with, right, matches this one, and this one matches the roof. The roof, guess what? It's going to match the stairs too. So if you have stairs on the front or in the back or wherever you would like to draw your house from, this is how you draw stairs. Look at rectangle, skinny, rectangle. But you need a space to step up and go into your house, right? This is like, you could even add a doormat. My doormat's right here, and that has the same angle as the stairs. My doormat has little birdies all over it, but I'm not going to draw those yet. But straight down, diagonal, pew, pew, the same. Look, you got a stoop, I should say. These shapes don't have swoops. And again, like I can see on the computer that my angles aren't absolutely perfect. I'm okay with that, like I said. That's how we figure this stuff out. Now, my stairs are kind of like a big block. I was just actually talking about changing them one day. But they have a railing on them. And again, the railing is the same diagonal as the stairs, the roof, the side of the house. I mean, you guys can just keep going and going with this. Let's see. This diagonal to make another step. Can you see this? Okay. That'll be another little trick for you. Diagonal matches. You're going to get so tired of me saying that. But it's going to make it stick in your brain. Line down, and here's that skinny rectangle in the front. Look at, they all match. You see that? So you guys, I hope you have fun drawing your house. If you have any questions about this or you want to draw it together, tell your teacher or email me, and we can check in together like this, like a Google Meet, and I can help you if you're stuck in any part of your house that you really want to, if you just can't quite figure out an angle or whatever, if you need a little more practice, a little more help. See? Same. Again, I'd erase right here because my steps aren't see-through. They're like a big hunk of cement. It looks like my house is floating in midair right now, which is kind of funny. Like it's all being held up by these steps. But that's where, if I wanted to be fancy too, I would drop in my foundation, which is where the basement is. That makes sense? So now my house is sitting on a foundation, which I think all houses have, even if you don't have a basement. It's got to sit somewhere. It can't just sit on the dirt because then it would, that just wouldn't be good for it. So And then this in here is where I had trees, and even my trees looked like cones. So instead of looking just like a plain triangle, there's a swoopy at the bottom. Oh, doing that to you guys, sorry. Right? And then this one would be hidden a little bit because the stair angle's in front of it. So you can just keep going and going. Like I said, think about where your chimney is. Think about what your yard looks like out here. Are there toys? Do you have a walkway? Do you have a bicycle in the yard? Swing set, stuff like that. And draw your house from the front, from the back, from the side. Whatever one you have more fun with, wherever you can sit most comfy. I'm excited to see where you live. All right, show them to me, okay? I miss you guys. Good luck. Okay.